The sky above New Shanghai burned crimson as the alien vessels descended through the atmosphere. Commander Sarah Mitchell watched from the outskirts, her fists clenched so tightly that her nails dug crescents into her palms. What had begun as strange lights in the sky 3 days ago had culminated in this: the systematic harvesting of an entire human city. "Commander, we need to fall back." Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled through her comm unit. "Our perimeter is collapsing. They have technology we can't even begin to understand." Sarah's jaw tightened as she watched the towering extraction machines drill into the city center, pulsing with an otherworldly blue energy. "Negative. Hold position until the last civilian transport clears the emergency tunnels." "But Commander..." "That's an order, Lieutenant." Sarah cut the transmission and raised her tactical binoculars again. The aliens, beings the scientific community had hastily named the Harvesters, moved with terrible efficiency. Their biomechanical soldiers herded surviving humans toward the central collection points, while their scientists, if you could call them that, had already begun setting up laboratories in the taller skyscrapers. 2 million people had called New Shanghai home. Only an estimated 300,000 had escaped before the aliens locked down the city. The rest were now specimens, test subjects, or worse. Her earpiece buzzed again. "Commander Mitchell, this is General Winters. The Security Council is ordering a full retreat. I repeat, full retreat. We can't lose any more Special Forces personnel." Sarah closed her eyes briefly. "Understood, sir. Initiating Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega? The words tasted bitter. It meant abandoning the city and the people inside it. It meant accepting defeat. As Sarah signaled her remaining squad to move out, she made a silent promise to the people of New Shanghai. This wasn't over. Humanity would return, and they would find a way to fight back. What nobody knew yet, not Sarah, not the aliens, not even the highest echelons of Earth's unified military command, was that this invasion would become the beginning of the end. Not for humanity, but for an entire galactic empire. 6 months passed since the fall of New Shanghai. The world had changed irrevocably. Nations had put aside centuries of distrust to form the Earth Defense Alliance. Military technologies developed at breakneck speed. And Sarah Mitchell had been promoted to colonel, given command of the newly formed Ghost Division, a special operations unit tasked with gathering intelligence on the alien occupiers. The Harvesters, as they were now commonly known, had established a fortified zone around New Shanghai, extending their control to a 10-kilometer perimeter beyond the city limits. Strange structures had been erected, some reaching kilometers into the sky, others burrowing deep into the Earth's crust. But they had not yet expanded beyond this territory, which puzzled Earth's military strategists. "They're studying us," Sarah explained to her assembled team in the underground command center beneath the Himalayan mountains. "Testing our responses, our biology, our technology. This isn't a full invasion. It's reconnaissance." The holographic displays showed the latest satellite imagery of New Shanghai, now unrecognizable beneath alien architecture. 20 faces looked back at her. The survivors of multiple infiltration attempts. The best Special Forces operators Earth had to offer. "Tonight, we go in again. But this time, we're not just observing. We're hitting back." Major James Chen had been replaced after his death during the initial invasion by Major Asuka Tanaka, a former Japanese Defense Force tactical expert who had lost her entire family in New Shanghai. Her face remained impassive as Sarah outlined the mission, but her eyes burned with quiet intensity. Intelligence suggests they've established their primary research facility here. Sarah highlighted a structure in what had once been the financial district. Our previous incursions have given us enough data to partially counteract their detection systems. We'll have a window of approximately 40 minutes before they realize we're inside. And when they do, asked Captain Cairo, the team's demolitions expert, that's when we implement Echo Protocol. Sarah replied, bringing up schematics for devices the team had never seen before. These are reverse engineered from components we recovered on previous missions. Dr. Eliza Wong believes they can disrupt the Harvester's neural network. Dr. Wong stepped forward. Unlike the soldiers, the physicist seemed perpetually disheveled, her lab coat wrinkled and hair hastily tied back. The Harvesters appear to use a form of quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication. These devices should create enough interference to temporarily blind them. Think of it as a localized EMP for their hive mind. Our primary objective is to recover any information about their physiology, hierarchy, and most importantly, their intentions. Sarah continued. Secondary objective is to rescue any surviving humans being held for experimentation. The Harvesters have been systematically testing biological agents on the captives. We need to know why. As the team prepared their equipment, Sarah pulled Dr. Wong aside. Do you really think these disruptors will work? We're betting a lot on technology we barely understand. Wong's expression was grim. Theoretically, yes. But Colonel, there's something else you should know. The energy readings we're getting from the city, they're increasing exponentially. Whatever the Harvesters are building in there, it's nearly operational. This might be our last chance. Sarah nodded, the weight of the mission pressing down on her shoulders. Then we make it count. The infiltration began at 0200 hours. Under the cover of an unseasonable thunderstorm, Sarah's team moved through the ruins of the outer city like ghosts, their advanced camouflage suits bending light around them. The alien perimeter defenses were formidable. Autonomous drones, motion sensors that could detect the displacement of a single dust particle, and the ever-present Harvester soldiers with their enhanced senses. But humanity had been learning, adapting. Dr. Wong's countermeasures allowed them to slip through the first 3 security layers undetected. They moved in pairs, communicating through subvocal microphones that transmitted via bone conduction rather than sound waves. Echo team in position. Major Tanaka whispered, her team covering the eastern approach to the research facility. Sierra team ready. Captain Cairo confirmed from the west. Sarah and her strike team approached from the north, using the remains of a collapsed elevated train track for cover. Foxtrot team moving to entry point. Prepare disruptors on my mark. The research facility loomed before them, an architectural nightmare of twisting, organic-looking metal and pulsing light. Nothing about it followed human design principles, angles that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Surfaces that rippled like liquid despite appearing solid. 3, 2, 1, mark. They activated the disruptors simultaneously. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the subtle hum that permeated the alien structures faltered. The pulsing lights flickered. Move in, now! The teams converged on their entry points, using cutting tools developed specifically for the alien materials. They created openings large enough to slip through. Inside, the environment became even more disorienting. Gravity seemed to shift subtly between chambers, and the air itself felt charged with static electricity. Stay focused, Sarah ordered, noting how some of her soldiers' eyes widened at the alien architecture. Remember your training, Tanaka. Take your team to the lower levels. Cairo, secure our exit. Foxtrot with me. We're heading for the central chamber. They moved efficiently through the facility, encountering surprisingly little resistance. The few Harvester soldiers they came across seemed disoriented, their movements erratic and uncoordinated. Dr. Wong's disruptors were working better than anticipated. Colonel, this is Tanaka. You need to see this. Lower level, Section 6. Maintain position. We're on our way. Sarah redirected her team, following the facility's bizarre layout toward Tanaka's coordinates. What they found stopped them in their tracks. The chamber was enormous, at least 300 meters across, with a ceiling that vanished into darkness above. But it was what filled the space that froze Sarah's blood. Humans, thousands of them, suspended in transparent containers. Some appeared conscious, their eyes following the soldiers' movements with desperate hope. Others had been modified. Limbs replaced with mechanical components, organs visible through translucent skin, some no longer recognizable as human at all. My God, breathed Lieutenant Rodriguez, the first to find his voice. They're experimenting on them, turning them into... What are they doing? Major Tanaka stood before one container, her face a mask of controlled fury. Biological engineering. They're trying to create hybrids. Sarah approached one of the containers, placing her gloved hand against the surface. A woman inside, perhaps in her 30s, pressed her palm against the other side. Her eyes were clear, intelligent, terrified. Get them out, Sarah ordered, her voice leaving no room for discussion. All of them who can be moved. Rig the rest of this facility to blow. Colonel, our mission parameters, Rodriguez began, have changed. Sarah cut him off. We're not leaving these people. Cairo, get your team down here. We need those charges placed strategically. As her team began working to release the captives, Sarah approached a central console. The alien interface was incomprehensible, but they had prepared for this. She inserted a specially designed data extraction device, another of Dr. Wong's creations, into what appeared to be an access port. Beginning data transfer, she reported. Wong, are you receiving? From the secure command center. Dr. Wong's voice came through with static interference. Affirmative, Colonel. The encryption is unlike anything we've seen, but the quantity of data is extraordinary. Whatever they're doing there, they've been documenting everything. A sudden alarm shattered the tense silence, a pulsating wail that seemed to come from the very walls themselves. Colonel, our window's closing. Cairo warned, his team already placing demolition charges at key structural points. The disruptors are failing. How many can we evacuate? Sarah demanded, looking at the thousands of containment pods. Maybe 100, no more. We don't have the resources or time for more than that. The weight of the decision crushed down on Sarah. Leaving anyone behind was unacceptable. But losing this opportunity to strike back at the Harvesters could doom far more than those in this facility. Prioritize those who can move under their own power and any with visible military training. She finally ordered, we need people who can tell us what happened here. As they worked to free the captives, the facility's response intensified. Security bulkheads began to close, and the first Harvester soldiers, now recovered from the disruption, began to converge on their position. Time's up, Cairo shouted over the escalating alarms. Charges set. 10 minutes to detonation. Sarah made a final sweep of the console room, ensuring the data extraction was complete. As she turned to leave, a particular container caught her eye. unlike the others. This one held no human. Instead, it contained what appeared to be a harvester, but smaller, different. Its exoskeletal structure was less developed, and its neural connectors were clearly visible beneath translucent protective layers. A juvenile, or perhaps... Wong, are you seeing this? Sarah aimed her tactical camera at the container. Is that a harvester embryo? Colonel, we need that specimen. Sarah hesitated only a moment before making her decision. Negative. We're not becoming them. She turned away, joining her team in their fighting retreat. The escape was chaos. Freed captives, many malnourished and traumatized, struggled to keep pace. Harvester forces grew more coordinated with each passing minute as they recovered from the disruption. Sarah's team fought a running battle through the twisting corridors, using the facility's alien geometry to their advantage where possible. 2 minutes to detonation, Cairo warned as they reached the outer perimeter. Move, move, move! They emerged into the storm-lashed night, evacuation vehicles waiting at the pre-arranged extraction point. As the last of the rescued captives were loaded, Sarah looked back at the alien structure. For a moment, she thought she saw a figure watching from one of the higher levels. Not the typical harvester soldier, but something else. Something that stood straighter, more humanoid, observing with an intelligence that chilled her even at this distance. Then the charges detonated, and the night turned to day as the research facility imploded in a spectacular cascade of energy reactions. The shockwave knocked several team members off their feet despite their distance. Everyone accounted for? Sarah demanded, helping Rodriguez back to his feet. All team members present. Tanaka confirmed. 87 civilians extracted, 3 critical, 22 in need of immediate medical attention. Sarah nodded. A small victory in a war that had only just begun. Take us home. What they couldn't know was that the destruction of the research facility had sent ripples through the Harvester command structure. Ripples that would soon become a tsunami. The rescued captives provided invaluable intelligence. Under the careful supervision of Dr. Wong and a team of xenobiologists, they revealed the true purpose of the Harvester experiments. They're dying, explained Eliza Wong in the briefing 3 days later. The command center was packed with military leaders and government officials from around the world. Their species is suffering from a form of genetic degradation. They've been traveling from system to system, harvesting compatible species to incorporate beneficial genetic material into their own. You're saying they came here to, what, steal our DNA? General Winters looked skeptical. More than that. Sarah interjected. According to the data we recovered, they're looking for a solution to their entropy problem. Their civilization is millions of years old, but they've engineered themselves into an evolutionary dead end. They need fresh genetic diversity. And humans are compatible? Asked the Chinese representative. His expression grave. Dr. Wong nodded. Remarkably so. More compatible than any species they've encountered in over 50,000 years. The data suggests they've visited Earth before, possibly during our early evolutionary history. They may have even influenced our development. The implications hung heavy in the room. Humanity's genetic makeup might have been partly engineered by the very beings now harvesting them. There's more. Sarah continued. The harvesters we've been fighting aren't the decision makers. They're drones, biological constructs created to serve the true harvesters, beings they refer to as the architects. And New Shanghai isn't just a research outpost. It's a communication node, designed to connect to their empire spanning multiple star systems. How extensive is this empire? asked General Winters. Based on the stellar cartography we extracted. Dr. Wong brought up a holographic map of the galaxy, with dozens of systems highlighted. They control approximately 300 star systems across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way. Murmurs spread through the assembled leaders. Then we don't stand a chance, someone said. Actually, Sarah stepped forward. We might have an advantage they don't expect. The harvesters have been the dominant species for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt quickly. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but rigid, unchanging. They haven't faced a serious challenge in thousands of years. And you think we can provide that challenge, Colonel? General Winters asked, a hint of skepticism in his voice. I know we can. Sarah replied firmly. Because we've already begun to understand and adapt their own technology against them. Dr. Wong's team has made significant breakthroughs. Wong stepped forward, bringing up schematics of new weapons systems. Using the principles we've reverse-engineered from harvester technology, we've developed prototypes that can penetrate their defenses. The quantum disruptors that allowed Colonel Mitchell's team to infiltrate their facility were just the beginning. The captives also revealed something crucial. Sarah added, the harvesters are hierarchical to an extreme degree. Their command structure is completely centralized. If we can take out their primary communication node in New Shanghai, we can isolate the invasion force from the rest of their empire. You're proposing a direct assault on New Shanghai? General Winters looked incredulous. With what army? Colonel, their technological advantage will be neutralized. Sarah interrupted. At least temporarily. We now understand how their neural network functions. We can disrupt it on a much larger scale than before. It would give us a window, narrow but real, to strike at their command center. The room erupted in debate. Military leaders arguing tactics, while politicians worried about the risks. Through it all, Sarah stood firm. She knew what needed to be done. Even if the path forward would demand sacrifices few were prepared to make. Eventually, a consensus emerged. Operation Thunderstrike was approved, a daring, multi-pronged attack on the harvester-occupied New Shanghai, with Sarah's Ghost Division leading the critical strike team. As the meeting adjourned, General Winters pulled Sarah aside. This plan of yours is either brilliance or madness, Mitchell. Sometimes they're the same thing, sir. The casualty projections. I've seen them. Sarah cut him off. And I've calculated the casualties if we do nothing. This is our only shot. Winters studied her face, then nodded slowly. The weight of this decision. I don't envy you, Colonel. Save your concern for the harvesters. Sir, they don't know what's coming. 3 weeks of intensive preparation followed. Every available resource was directed toward Operation Thunderstrike. Factories worldwide converted to military production, churning out the newly designed weapons based on harvester technology. Special forces teams trained day and night with the unfamiliar equipment. At the heart of it all was the strategic command center beneath the Himalayas, where Sarah and Dr. Wong refined the plan to its final form. The key is synchronization. Sarah explained to her assembled team commanders, the quantum disruptor network needs to activate simultaneously across these 12 points surrounding New Shanghai. She indicated positions on the holographic map. That will create a dampening field that will temporarily sever the harvester's neural connection to their central command. How long will we have? Asked Major Tanaka. 30 minutes, at most. Dr. Wong answered, their systems will begin adapting immediately, which is why speed is essential. Sarah continued, the main assault force will draw their defensive resources here, to the southern approach. She highlighted the area. Meanwhile, Ghost Division will insert from the east, using the cover of the abandoned subway tunnels. Our target is here, what used to be the Shanghai Tower. According to our intelligence, that's where they've established their primary communication array. And if we succeed, Captain Cairo asked the question on everyone's mind. If we succeed, Sarah said, her voice firm with conviction, we cut off the harvester forces on Earth from their empire. They become isolated, vulnerable, and we gain access to their communication network, potentially giving us a way to strike at the heart of their civilization. The plan was audacious, perhaps even foolhardy. But after 6 months of occupation, with reports of more harvester ships approaching Earth's solar system, audacity was all they had left. The night before the operation, Sarah found herself unable to sleep. She wandered the underground facility until she reached the observation deck, a reinforced balcony carved into the mountainside that offered a view of the star-filled Himalayan sky. She wasn't surprised to find Major Tanaka already there, gazing upward. Checking to see which of those stars might be harboring more harvesters? Sarah asked, joining her at the railing. Wondering which of them might be home to allies we don't yet know exist. Tanaka replied. Her normally stoic expression had softened slightly in the privacy of the night. The universe is vast, Colonel. The harvesters can't be the only advanced civilization out there. Perhaps, but right now, they're the only ones who've made their presence known. Sarah studied the Major's profile. You lost family in New Shanghai, didn't you? Tanaka nodded once, her jaw tightening. My husband. 2 daughters. They were visiting his parents when the invasion began. I'm sorry. Save your sympathy for the harvesters. They'll need it more tomorrow. Tanaka's voice held no emotion, just cold certainty. Sarah understood that kind of grief, the kind that hardened rather than hollowed. Just remember the mission. Major, vengeance is secondary to victory. With respect, Colonel, I can accomplish both simultaneously. Tanaka finally turned to look at Sarah directly. But you needn't worry. I won't compromise the operation. I never thought you would. Sarah hesitated, then added, What will you do if we succeed? The question seemed to catch Tanaka off guard. I haven't thought that far ahead. Perhaps you should. We all need something to fight for beyond the immediate battle. Tanaka considered this, then replied, I'll help rebuild, whatever that looks like. My daughters would have wanted that. Sarah nodded, finding unexpected comfort in the simple, human answer. In the face of an enemy so alien, so incomprehensible, such ordinary hopes became profound acts of defiance. Get some rest, Major. Tomorrow we take back our world. Operation Thunderstrike began at dawn. The quantum disruptor network activated precisely as planned, sending a visible ripple of energy across the perimeter of New Shanghai. The effect was immediate. Harvester defense systems faltered. Their coordinated drone networks fell into disarray, and their soldiers became disoriented. The main assault force struck from the south with overwhelming firepower. Using reverse-engineered harvester weapons alongside conventional forces, the aliens responded with predictable defensive patterns, drawing their forces toward the perceived primary threat. Meanwhile, Sarah's Ghost Division moved through the abandoned subway tunnels beneath the city. The environment was claustrophobic and hazardous. Collapsed sections, flooded chambers, and the occasional harvester patrol that had sought shelter underground from the disruption field. Disruptor effect holding at 82%. Dr. Wong reported through their secure communication channel. 26 minutes remaining at current degradation rate. Understood. We're approaching the central junction now. Sarah replied, leading her team through the dimly lit tunnels. The specially designed tactical suits they wore incorporated harvester technology, providing enhanced strength and sensory capabilities. They emerged into what had once been a subway station beneath the financial district. The scene that greeted them was nightmarish. The station had been converted into some sort of processing center, with remnants of human clothing and personal effects scattered throughout. The walls were covered in the same organic-looking metal that characterized harvester architecture, pulsing with muted light. "Life signs?" Sarah asked quietly. Lieutenant Rodriguez checked his scanner. "None human. Minimal harvester presence, 2, maybe 3, and they're giving off erratic readings. The disruption is affecting them strongly here." "Good. Let's move up. Remember, we need to reach the communication array at the top of the tower." They proceeded through maintenance tunnels and emergency stairwells, encountering only token resistance. The disoriented harvester soldiers they encountered were quickly neutralized with the new weapons, compressed plasma charges that overloaded their neural systems. As they climbed higher in the tower, however, the resistance began to intensify. "They're adapting," Major Tanaka warned as they fought through a particularly determined group of defenders on the 70th floor. "Their coordination is improving." "Wong, status on the disruption field?" Sarah demanded, taking cover as energy bolts scorched the wall beside her. 17 minutes remaining. The effect is decaying faster than projected. "They're learning, Colonel." "Then we move faster. Tanaka, Cairo, flanking positions. Rodriguez, with me." They fought their way upward, floor by floor, the harvester resistance growing more organized with each level. By the time they reached the observation deck, once a tourist attraction, now converted into an alien communications center, they had lost 3 team members and depleted much of their ammunition. The sight that greeted them was both awesome and terrifying. The entire space had been transformed into a massive quantum communication array. Crystalline structures rose from the floor to the ceiling, pulsing with energy. In the center stood what could only be described as a throne, and upon it sat a being unlike the harvester soldiers they had encountered. This creature was taller, more elegant in its alien way. Its exoskeleton was adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow. Most disturbing were its eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, each a different color that swirled with internal light. An architect. Sarah breathed, recognizing the being from the data they had recovered. The architect rose from its throne, regarding them with what might have been curiosity. When it spoke, the words didn't come as sound, but as a direct impression in their minds. Resourceful, adaptable, precisely the qualities we sought. Sarah raised her weapon, aiming at the crystalline structures rather than the architect itself. "Order your forces to withdraw from Earth. Now." A sensation like cold amusement washed over them. "You misunderstand your position in the natural order. You exist to be harvested. Your genetic material will strengthen our empire for millennia. We exist for ourselves." Sarah replied, her fingers steady on the trigger. "And we're taking back our world. Your defiance is unexpected, but ultimately irrelevant. You have seen but one city taken. Soon, your entire planet will be ours." Major Tanaka stepped forward, her weapon also raised. "You took my family, my children. Many more will be taken. It is inevitable." Sarah glanced at the tactical display on her wrist. 12 minutes of disruption effect remaining. Not enough time for extraction after completing the mission. This had always been a one-way operation, though she had kept that knowledge from most of her team. "Cairo, set the charges," she ordered. "Tanaka, Rodriguez, cover positions." As her team moved to obey, the architect made a subtle gesture. The air around them seemed to thicken, making movement difficult. "Your primitive understanding of quantum mechanics is impressive, but incomplete," the architect communicated. "The disruption you created is already being countered. Soon, your advantage will be gone." Sarah struggled against the increasing gravitational force, forcing herself to take one step, then another, toward the central console. Maybe, but we don't need long. With tremendous effort, she raised her weapon and fired directly into the main crystalline structure. The plasma charge struck with blinding intensity, creating a cascade of energy reactions throughout the array. Alarms began to sound. Not human alarms, but a pulsating frequency that made their teeth vibrate. "Wong, what's happening?" Sarah demanded, fighting to stay upright as the gravitational field intensified. "The communication array is destabilizing." Dr. Wong's voice came through with heavy interference. "Colonel, the energy readings are off the charts. It's creating some kind of resonance effect." The architect had abandoned its calm demeanor. It moved with sudden, frightening speed towards Sarah, its limbs extending to impossible lengths. "You cannot comprehend what you have done," it projected, fury and something like fear bleeding through its mental communication. "The array links directly to the Imperial network. A cascading failure will..." Captain Cairo's charges detonated simultaneously, severing the base of the main crystalline structure. As it began to topple, the energy within it surged visibly, creating arcs of power that lashed out in all directions. The architect screamed, a sound that existed only in their minds, but was no less agonizing for its immateriality. "Everyone out now!" Sarah shouted, though she knew evacuation was impossible. The mission had always been a suicide run. They had just hoped to take as many harvesters with them as possible. The crystalline structure shattered as it hit the floor, releasing a blinding pulse of energy that expanded outward. Sarah expected death, instant vaporization from the energy release. Instead, she witnessed something far more extraordinary. The pulse seemed to pass through solid matter without affecting it. But when it touched the harvester technology, that technology simply dissolved. The organic metal components of the communication array began to melt and disintegrate. The architect itself convulsed, its exoskeleton developing fractures that emitted the same pulsing light as the shattered crystal. "Wong, are you seeing this?" Sarah asked, her voice hushed with awe. There was no response. The communication system had failed. "It's a cascade effect," Major Tanaka realized, watching as the pulse continued to expand beyond the tower. "It's spreading through their neural network." The architect collapsed to its knees before them, its mental voice now fractured and weak. "You have done the unthinkable. The resonance will travel faster than light through the network." Sarah understood then the true magnitude of what they had accomplished. "It's not just affecting the harvesters here, is it? It's spreading to your entire empire. Millions of years of evolution undone by primitives." The architect seemed to be dissolving from within, light spilling from the cracks in its exoskeleton. The architects will remember this betrayal. "Remember it from where?" Sarah asked, a cold satisfaction filling her. Your empire is falling. Right now. As the architect crumbled into luminescent dust, the tower around them began to shake. Without the alien technology reinforcing it, the structure was becoming unstable. Time to go, Sarah ordered, surprised to find herself giving an evacuation order after all. We might actually survive this. They fought their way back down through the tower, witnessing the spectacular disintegration of harvester technology throughout the structure. Outside, the sky was filled with the burning wrecks of alien ships falling from orbit, their systems compromised by the same cascade effect. When they finally reached the ground level and emerged into the daylight, the scene was one of chaos and wonder. Harvester structures were collapsing throughout the city. Their soldiers lay immobile, the neural network that controlled them severed. Human resistance fighters were emerging from hiding places, looking up at the sky in disbelief as the invaders' mighty vessels plummeted to Earth. "Colonel!" Rodriguez pointed upward, his voice filled with awe. "Look!" Above them, visible even in daylight, strange lights flickered across the sky, not just over New Shanghai, but globally. According to the emergency broadcasts now coming through their partially restored communication systems. The quantum network. Sarah realized. The cascade is traveling through their FTL communication system. To their entire empire, Major Tanaka added, a fierce satisfaction in her voice. Reports began flooding in from around the world. The effect was the same everywhere. Harvester technology failing catastrophically. Their forces left disorganized and vulnerable. The counterattack that had begun as a desperate last stand was rapidly becoming a rout. 1 week later, Sarah stood in the rebuilt command center, now relocated to a facility near the former New Shanghai. The city was being reclaimed, alien structures dismantled, and survivors reunited with their families. The victory had come at a terrible cost, but humanity had prevailed. The long-range telescopes are confirming it, Dr. Wang reported, bringing up astronomical data on the main display. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations in multiple star systems, precisely matching the locations indicated in the Harvester stellar cartography. Their entire empire, General Winters marveled, collapsed because of one successful strike. They never anticipated resistance. Sarah explained. Their technology was so advanced, so integrated, that they had no safeguards against this kind of cascading failure. Their greatest strength became their greatest vulnerability. The question now, Major Tanaka said, is what fills the vacuum? The architects mentioned other species under their control. What happens to them now? It was a question without an easy answer. Humanity had won a victory beyond their wildest hopes. But they had also announced their presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. We'll need to be ready. Sarah decided, the Harvesters may be defeated, but there will be others. And next time, we won't be underestimated. As she looked out over the recovering city, Sarah felt both pride and apprehension. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat and emerged victorious against all odds. But the stars suddenly seemed much closer, the universe much smaller, and the future far less certain than it had been before the lights first appeared over New Shanghai. The liberation of Earth was complete, but humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun. In the months that followed, Earth underwent rapid transformation. The remains of Harvester technology provided unprecedented advancements in multiple fields: quantum communications, energy generation, materials science, What might have taken centuries of development was achieved in years. Dr. Wong led the scientific teams reverse engineering the alien technology. "We're standing on the shoulders of a fallen giant," she explained during one of the regular briefings. The Harvester's technology was stagnant, unchanging for millennia, but extraordinarily advanced. By understanding and improving upon it, we're advancing faster than they ever could. The first human faster-than-light communication system was established 2 years after the invasion, allowing instant contact with the exploratory vessels now venturing beyond Earth's solar system. The first human settlement on Mars grew from a research outpost to a thriving colony of 50,000 within 5 years. Sarah Mitchell, now General Mitchell, oversaw the development of Earth's defense forces. The memory of the Harvesters remained fresh, a constant reminder of humanity's vulnerability and its potential. "We won through adaptability and determination," she often reminded the recruits under her command. "Those qualities will serve us well as we move outward." 10 years after the invasion, human ships made first contact with another space-faring species, refugees from the collapsed Harvester Empire. The meeting was tentative, cautious on both sides, but it marked the beginning of humanity's integration into the wider galactic community. Major Tanaka, true to her word, had focused on rebuilding. She now led diplomatic missions to former Harvester worlds, helping forge alliances with species still recovering from centuries of oppression. The Empire's fall created opportunities for cooperation that never existed before. She reported, "Many of these civilizations are technologically advanced in ways different from the Harvesters. Together, we're building something new. And somewhere out in the vast darkness between the stars, the surviving architects watched and waited. Their empire had fallen, but they were patient. They had evolved over millions of years and would continue to adapt. The humans had proven themselves worthy adversaries, perhaps even worthy successors. The galaxy had entered a new age. The harvest had failed, but the seeds it had planted would grow into something neither humanity nor the architects could fully predict." As General Sarah Mitchell stood on the observation deck of humanity's first interstellar vessel, preparing to journey to a diplomatic summit of free worlds, she remembered that night in the Himalayas, gazing at the stars with Major Tanaka. The universe had seemed so vast then, so full of potential threats. It still was. But now, it was also full of potential allies, discoveries, and futures previously unimagined. "Ready, General?" her aide asked, interrupting her thoughts. Sarah nodded, turning away from the viewport. "Always. Let's make history." The ship's engines hummed to life, and humanity took another step into the great unknown, not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals among the stars.